Welcome back to Harwell. This morning, between 600 and 700 protesters gathered in Lower Manhattan as part of the Occupy Wall Street movement, a planned cleanup of their protest area in which protesters would have left the park temporarily, raised concern they might be evicted. So the protesters won and the cleanup was postponed. But police later arrested 14 protesters who had marched down to Wall Street. So will there be any political ramifications from these protests? U.S. Congressman Charlie Rangel supports the protesters. Join me from Capitol Hill. Mr. Rangel, I guess it comes down to there's a lot of support in this country, maybe overwhelming support, for the feelings of inequality that are being expressed on the streets of New York. My question to you, sir, you've been on Ways and Means a long time. Is there any way that something good will come of this?
Of course there is. Right now, like throughout America, they are merely indicating their frustration. I really hope that as a result of this happening throughout these United States, that we find some of our spiritual leaders joining with them and giving them some direction, because in addition to the unemployment, we also have a real attack on the vulnerable, the sick, the aged, and this is happening in the Congress, and we haven't heard it all from the ministers, and the only way for them to be active is to get active, register, vote, do something. Right now, that leadership is missing, and I only wish that our community leaders could go down there and see these kids. They're good people. Many of them have gone through college. They don't have a job. They know they'll never be able to even aspire to what their parents have done. And it's frustrating as hell to be that helpless and that hopeless.
Let's talk about two areas they seem to be angry about. One is inequality of income. It looks to me like members of both parties, including yourself, have supported the differential on taxes, that the people who make money, off capital gains, pay 15% in taxes. And the people who make money off working 40 or 50 hours a week with sweat equity in their job, they pay up to 35%. Is there any way that Congress will ever equalize those two rates of taxes?
I hope so. You know, they talk about the power money and getting people elected, but it's not really just the fact that there's a disparity in terms of the tax rate that people pay on capital gains as well as ordinary income. There are two things, too. One of the things is that the disparity exists where just a handful of Americans own almost half of the wealth in this country. And the middle class, which is really the heartbeat of our economy, the heartbeat of our country, is shrinking, and the poor are just growing larger and larger. And 1 out of every 5 kids in America is born into poverty. That is danger enough. The other problem that we have is that it is perceived that when the bankers were in trouble, when the financial institutions were in trouble, and Bush told us, and Obama really underlined it, that we had to take taxpayers' money, invest it into these fiscal institutions, or the whole economy would collapse and would have international repercussions. Well, people saw that. They didn't march. They didn't protest. They just saw it. And then right after that, the people who paid taxes when they could lose all of their jobs, their hopes, their savings, their homes, and you have the disparity there. So there's enough to be angry about.
Well, I'm hoping you can get something done as a result of all this street action. Maybe the street is the new political stage in this country. Thank you, U.S. Congressman Charlie Rangel of New York, in fact, of Manhattan.